All right, guys, welcome back to another edition of Raw Intuition Inside Scoop. Today we've got a special guest, a neuropathologist with us to speak with her experience of shifting over to a raw vegan diet and lifestyle, and just what she has learned from living this way and through her occupation, just different insights that she can provide us with some maybe incentives towards moving towards a plant-based or raw vegan diet. So we have Dr. Areli K with us today. And Dr. Areli, thank you for joining us.
It's a pleasure, Matt. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. And you go by RawVeganDoctor on social media, correct?
I do. RawVeganDoctor, no spaces, just like that.
Awesome. Yeah. All right. So first off, can we just get just kind of a background of, how your lifestyle was growing up and what kind of made you want to become a doctor?
Well, when I was growing up, I remember my grandmas complaining all the time about, oh, my joints hurt, oh, my feet, give me a massage kind of thing. One of them suffered from diabetes, type 2, obesity, like the common Western problems, overweight, high cholesterol, things like that. So that kind of put me in a position. Well, on the other hand, maybe many people don't know about this, but my mom passed away when I was 6 years old from breast cancer. So I think that subconsciously kind of moved me in a way all my life. So for some reason, plus my grandma's complaining of their health problems made me realize that probably I wanted to find a cure for everything, right? As a naive 6-year-old, 6-year-old thinking about I'm gonna solve the world problems. Mm-hmm. So that I think that subconsciously made me choose medicine, and I never thought about becoming a doctor until high school when I liked more the biological sciences, things like that. So that put me into the medical track. So that's answering to your first question. And the other question was about my diet before going.
Yeah, like how was your lifestyle and diet kind of early in life and leading up to, where you kind of were getting interested in changing to raw vegan diet?
Sure. Well, before I was, a normal standard American diet, Western diet eater, which was basically dairy products, meats, and refined processed food. So basically that was it. And I think having lost my mom, my grandma's kind of tried to compensate maybe with, with love and attention, but also with food, that lack, right? That kind of emptiness. So I attributed them that they were trying to nurture me in the better way possible, in their best understanding. So they overfit me. Dairy products in the morning, at night, with bread, with eggs, beans, chicken, fried, everything fried, nothing, sometimes once in a while, grill, things like that. But it was basically standard American diet. So that was until I went into medical school. I started to be more conscious about my eating patterns, and because I wanted to lose weight, but I was still, fruit with yogurt and things like that, apparently trying to be healthy.
Right.
Then in my country, in Mexico, I did medical school in Mexico. I went into the internship, which is a mandatory 1 year of medicine, living in the hospital and doing night shifts, like non-sleep from 36 to 48 hours. Wow. every 3 days. So that definitely, in order to survive, you need to eat a lot, especially at midnight. And that year was the one that made me gain a lot of weight. So after my year of internship, I realized, you know what, I need to lose weight. What should I do? And that I'm talking about back in 2006, 2007. There was not a lot of dissemination of the vegan, vegetarian lifestyle, especially in Mexico.
Sure.
So I asked one of my mentors, what should I do for weight loss? And she recommended the Atkins diet. That was back in 2007. And I just jumped into it and I did it for a year, believe it or not. I did lose weight, but it wasn't, I wasn't at my best. I didn't have energy. I wasn't sharp enough. I still have a lot of acne, obviously because of the meat and the fat from animals.
Yeah.
I didn't exercise as much as I do now. I did, but I wasn't energetic. So after a year of Atkins, I just decided, you know what, almost a year. I said, I lost probably 10 kilos. And I said, that's good. I was at 67 at my highest weight. So I went down to 57. And I said, well, I'm in my ideal body mass index. And, you know, maybe there should be a sustainable way to live, because I was tired of meat and cheese and tuna. And I found, doing my research about vegetarianism, and that resonated in my mind. So I went vegetarian, and I lived as a vegetarian, you know, with predominantly cheese for 5 years or 4 years, 2009 to 2013.
Okay.
But still the acne problems, the overweight was still there. Not overweight, but I didn't like the body type that I had. I didn't like my performance. Still had acne, obviously, because of the cheese. And then I watched a documentary called Earthlings, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's a big one for me too.
So sad, so traumatic, that made me go vegan overnight. And that was the most difficult part for me, quitting cheese, you know. But after knowing what's underneath or behind the scene of the dairy industry and meat industry, I just decided, you know what, I have to do this. And the consciousness of the ethical side of the plant-based or vegan lifestyle happened in 2013. I remember the date, November 30, 2013, went vegan overnight. And, you know, I was watching Dan McDonald, the Life Regenerator.
Okay.
Back in 2006, when I was, you know, exploring vegetarianism, 2008, before going vegan. But I was just watching, you know, along the way, obviously thinking, well, this guy probably is a little bit, you know, cuckoo. He was in his van, you know, in his backyard. Making juices.
I was watching him too.
Yeah, so I really like his message, but I never implemented that. So I knew about raw veganism since I went vegetarian.
Okay.
And then when I was vegan, I definitely improved much more. I gained more. I lost more weight. I cleared my skin. So we are talking about from 2013 to 2016, 3 years into veganism, and I was cleaning up, you know, my diet with the time as time passed. And I was high raw finally, because I was getting more and more convinced, maybe in 2006. And for 2 years, I was trying to, you know, level up my game and be fully raw, but I never committed to it. I always went back to, you know, Frappuccino with soy milk at Starbucks or things like that. Okay. When I was not raw, I was eating vegan diet, but highly processed.
Okay.
So that was my setback at the time. And, you know, I was like, okay, I'm going to be, you know, probably 40 within the next 10 years. And I don't want to regret, right? Not ever trying to get the perfect or being at my better shape, my best shape, my better performance at the peak, my highest self, you know. So I just decided, for selfish reasons, right? I'm just trying to be honest here. For selfish reasons, to become a better version of myself. Obviously, I was vegan for the ethical reasons, but then the trying to improve myself, personal development, things like that, physical appearance, all these things, that made me actually commit. And I did a juice fast for a week, just because it was like a reset kind of thing for me. At the end of 2017, the holiday vacations, the December vacations, and I went raw January 1st, 2018, and I haven't gone back since then. Wow. Sorry for the long story. Yeah.
No, that's great. And that's funny. We have a very similar story. Dan McDonald, and I found Dan McDonald first, and then I found Earthlings after him. So I went vegan for the health first, and then I saw Earthlings, got into the ethics, and then I did a 10-day juice fast to start everything out. So yeah, so very similar there. Can you explain a little bit about, so your work is a neuropathologist?
Correct.
What kind of things do you do in that line of work?
So neuropathology is like another level of training after you complete your residency.
Okay.
So remember that after medical school, you have different choices, right? You can go into gynecology or you can go into pediatrics, things like that.
Sure.
In my case, when I was still in medical school, I realized that I didn't want to deal with pharmaceuticals. I didn't want to deal with insurance. I didn't want to deal with surgical complications. So I said, you know what? I remember that I liked the mechanism of diseases, and that made me choose pathology. So I went into pathology, which is basically behind the scenes. What happens, you know, in every OR in the world, what happens in every ambulatory surgery when they take out biopsies, they send it to the lab, and the pathologist is the one that actually examines the tissue. And when somebody dies, the pathologist is the one that, you know, does the autopsy. So we basically examine biopsies, human tissues, organs, and the whole body, you know, after the patient died. So that's why I chose pathology. And basically I was a general pathologist, but then you have to, if you want, pursue a fellowship or additional training, which is neuropathology. So there are different branches within pathology. You have the breast pathologist that only specializes in breast. You have the cardiac or thoracic pathologists that see the lung and the heart.
Okay.
In my case, neuropathology, I specialize in seeing brain biopsies, brain autopsies, CSF fluid analysis, nerve, eye, and muscle biopsies. So neuropathologist has to do with the central and the peripheral nervous system, and that goes, you know, into the eye, which is an extension of the nervous system, and the muscle, which is basically related to the neuromuscular system. So that's what I do for a living.
Wow, that's must be very exciting and interesting every day, right?
It is. Every day is different, and I am very grateful for my career. Yes.
Wow, very cool. So has that line of work given you any additional motivation to live a plant-based diet? Do you kind of see any consequences to diet and lifestyle through that line of work?
Definitely. You know, pathology is has to do with disease. Path or pathos means disease, and logy is the study of.
Okay.
So since you study the mechanisms of disease, you realize that at the end of the day, disease, no matter the name, no matter the location, has to do with either an acute inflammatory process or a chronic inflammatory process, or a chronic exposure to an insult from the environment that at the end of the day is just causing what the natural hygiene knows as mucus. Medical terms is inflammation.
Okay.
So definitely every single day, all the things that I see, most of the things that I see under the microscope and at autopsies, except for natural, you know, like accidents, things like that, are a result of bad lifestyle choices. And that really motivates me to, you know, raise awareness, because I can either keep looking at diseases and keep it to myself, or actually being shocked every time that I see something that could be prevented.
Yeah.
And when I came to the understanding of how food affects our health, you know, the tremendous impact that food has in our health, I just, you know, it was just like the perfect combination, having the understanding of pathology and applied to the brain, obviously, as a neuropathologist, but having the understanding of biology, physiology, pathology, inflammation, is just, you know, like the perfect match for me. So I can be more vocal and more, I don't know, like a leader in the field, if you want to call it that way, because not many doctors are raw vegans.
Right.
So.
I know. I was so excited to see that you're, raw and you're a doctor. That's really, like you said, it's just needed that more doctors, why do you think more doctors don't promote raw, even just raw food? I mean, I know some of them talk about raw food, but they kind of disregard anything that has to do with like a fully raw diet.
It's so sad, it's so sad and so unfortunate, because I feel I always post in my in my photos, or if you follow me,
Mhm.
I always complain that as a raw vegan doctor, I'm in the middle of nowhere. Because on one side, I don't have I have many haters, and not so many are like me. So
Yeah.
the vegans blame the raw vegan lifestyle. The
Mhm.
natural hygiene call me white coat. The doctors call me a hippie. So I cannot please everyone.
Yeah.
But definitely answering your question, and it's just to give you some context.
Mhm.
I think doctors are ignorant about this lifestyle. It's not that we are the evil, or we are trying, the conspiracy theories that we are serving the big pharma, and it's not like that. It's
Yeah.
just that we are ignorant, and we are so into the daily grind. Doctors don't have time. Doctors are just another piece of the big system that basically we just keep working and never take care of ourselves. Actually, doctors are the worst patients, and only the ones that got affected. For example, I know of two allopathic MDs.
Mhm.
Dr. Sarai Stancic, she had multiple sclerosis, I think. I think she
Okay.
had that. And Dr. Brooke Colner, she had lupus.
Mm.
So if doctors experience some sort of debilitating conditions like that,
Yeah.
and they experiment on themselves, the raw vegan lifestyle, for sure, those are the ones who are going to promote it.
Mhm.
And those two doctors promote it. Although most of them, or the two of them, are high raw, meaning that probably 90% they eat raw and 10% cooked.
Okay.
But other than that, I think it's just ignorance. It's just because they have not had the need to look at their dietary choices until something strikes them. And I think that's the reason. It's not conspiracy. It's not that we're hiding something.
Mhm.
It's just there's no awareness. There's no need for them to do that.
Yeah.
So that would be.
And it seems that studies are done based on funding. Is that correct? So there's really no incentive for studies to be done on raw food, from what I understand. Would you agree?
Yeah, I would agree. And most of the plant-based doctors nowadays that are quite famous, I think that they don't want to fall into the risk that I'm taking right now, right?
Yeah.
Because I always put it as a disclaimer, there's no scientific evidence enough to prove this lifestyle. However, the lack of evidence doesn't mean that it's not truth.
Right.
So I think plant-based doctors are more reserved because there's no scientific data
Mhm.
to sustain this lifestyle, and they base their recommendation basically on large studies, long-term, longitudinal, randomized, double-blinded, case control, all these variables to make a scientific study valid and strong. The China study, things like that. So
Mhm.
they have something like a backbone, something that sustains their guidelines or recommendations. But since there is no publications about this, I think they are just reserved, and in my case, hey, why are we reserved about this? Well, first of all, they haven't experienced them in themselves. Obviously, they feel great as plant-based doctors, but I guess they haven't actually had the need like these two other doctors. They haven't suffered autoimmune diseases, for example. And yeah, I think that's the reason.
Okay. Yeah. That
Yeah.
sounds. I think you're right. So a little bit more into just environment and lifestyle factors. The study of epigenetics.
Right.
Could you talk a little bit about that, and in contrast versus health issues coming up because of genetics?
Definitely. I think there are definitely, sorry for saying definitely so much, but I think there are for sure disorders and diseases that are inherited, that are genetic, that are transferable from parents to offsprings. But they're rare. Probably they encompass maybe less than 5% of the total, the not millions, but probably thousands of diseases that we know. So yeah, for those diseases, we call it genetic factors. Like there are people that have the BRCA mutation, which makes them susceptible for breast and ovarian cancer, like Angelina Jolie. I don't know if you heard about her.
Yeah.
She removed her breast, and I think her ovaries, because of her mom had the BRCA, or she inherited her mom's BRCA mutation.
Okay.
So she did it, I guess, because she was afraid and just not to, run into any risk in the future, which is respectable. But I think epigenetics is a huge field that is not new, but is quite new compared to the genetic studies. So epigenetics means that is above the gene, above the genome, which is that genes or inherited traits do not mean fate. It's not your destiny. Epigenetics means anything that is not encoded in your DNA that actually silences or promotes the expression or certain genes is something that is going to dictate the way you respond to the environment, right? So I totally believe that diet is one of the most important epigenetic factors that we can control. And epigenetics means basically methylation. That's just one example. It's a chemical reaction that happens to some of the elements of the DNA. So you silence certain genes that if they were not silent, you will get cancer, for example. So let's say if my grandmother gave me the risk factor of probably developing diabetes, if I followed the same diet that I was eating before, most probably I will have diabetes. But because my epigenetic modifications, which is by eating raw foods, I modify or I silence the gene that gave me the diabetes risk, I'm not going to have it. And I can be sure about it because I don't, I have that control as well as exercise, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, epigenetics plays a huge factor. And there's another science, new fellowship actually called lifestyle medicine, which focuses on modifying the risk factors to avoid diseases, basically preventive medicine that we don't make a lot of emphasis into nowadays.
Right. Yeah. I like the saying, I don't know who said it, but I've heard the saying, genetics loads the gun, diet and lifestyle pull the trigger.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So, so I guess what have you experienced personally since moving into a raw vegan lifestyle, even compared to just being vegan prior to that? Do you see any differences?
Oh yeah, the differences are, they have no comparison. Even though I know that as a vegan, I experienced better results after vegetarian. As a raw vegan compared to vegan, I can think of so many, but basically it's mental clarity, is energy. I think anti-aging, I can see it in myself. Rejuvenation, that's the word, or regeneration of my tissues faster. I run, I work a full-time job, so I don't need a lot of sleep, which is not great. I have to sleep more, but definitely it's more energy, more mental clarity, more not worrying about weight loss, not worrying about calories, hydration, clear skin, getting into the ideal weight that I want. And I mean, if we talk about philosophical or spiritual point of views, I think I'm more awakened. I think I'm more intuitive as a raw vegan.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what would, especially with your busy schedule, what's a typical day for you as far as eating? How do you fit that in with that busy doctor schedule that you have?
Yeah. So what I do now, in the past, when I was starting the raw vegan lifestyle, I ate a lot and I had breakfast at 9 or 8, something like that. But now, when you go deeper and deeper and understand better how our body works, now I do intermittent fasting.
Okay.
Which is I eat after, maybe at brunch time, which will be 10:30, 11:30, in that window. So what I do, I wake up maybe around 5:30. I get ready for my run or for my gym session, which is an hour. After that, I take a shower, and get ready to work. I cycle to work after the exercise. On top of that, no eating anything because I'm used to it. I mean, it took me some time to get adapted to this, but I go to work. I start working 8:30, and probably 2 hours into work, 10:30, 11, I have my first meal, and my first meal will be a lot of fruit, a lot of fruit. People don't understand the capacity of your stomach, right, to get all this food. It could be, it varies. It could be 3 cases or 3 little boxes of grapes, or it could be 10 or 15 oranges, big oranges. It could be 20 to 25 mandarins, small mandarins. Could be a whole watermelon. Could be 4 cantaloupes or 3. It depends how I feel. Where do I buy it? I'm fortunate enough to have like a little, well, I live in the UK right now, so the store is called Lidl. It could be equivalent to, small Walmart or something like that, which fortunately has organic section. So I buy whatever I feel like. I don't even prepare for the day. When I feel like eating, I just go to that store. Sometimes in my drawer, I keep some fruit just to have it there.
Okay.
And if I don't feel satisfied, I eat bananas afterwards or dates. And that keeps me going until maybe 1 or 2 p.m. when I do another meal. Maybe I call it snack, which will be some leafy greens, for example, and 4, 5, or 6 bananas, could be like that. Or if I don't feel like needing leafy greens at the moment, maybe more fruit. I don't know, whatever is in there, 6 apples with some almonds, maybe a few almonds, and that's it. And then when I come home, I have like a feast, a huge salad, which is, I don't know if you see my post on Instagram, but it's a huge plate.
Yep.
So it has everything. The things that I didn't eat, that people think that we need, probably more leafy greens, more herbs, more spices, more, I don't know, radishes, like micronutrient dense food, sprouts, avocado. So I keep my fats at night, and that's the way I work better. Sometimes I make a smoothie for brunch, if I have time in the morning to prepare it. So it's basically, that's my summer. So simple, so simple.
All right. Well, I mean, this sounds like a lot of sugar. So, I mean, don't you have like blood sugar issues from all the fruit?
I don't. I only do when I eat very sweet fruit. I feel like the sugar rush and then the down. But that lasts for maybe 10 minutes, that I feel like, okay, yes, I have a lot of sugar, but it's not in the bad way, It's just, I know what you mean about this question, that people fear fruit because, oh, you're going to get diabetes because of the sugar. And what we need to be afraid is of the fat. And I don't know, there's a lot of misunderstanding of how the metabolism works. We don't know that what actually causes insulin resistance is the fat in the blood rather than the sugar. So because I eat clean every single day, my blood circulation and the sugar and the insulin is just perfect. The function of the insulin actually opens the doors of the cells in order for the glucose and fructose to enter. Well, the fructose actually doesn't need insulin, but if I don't remember correctly.
Yep.
So no issues, because there is no fat in my bloodstream that inhibits the sugar absorption to my cells. So no, there's a misconception. And again, people call sugar what tastes sweet, and that's how there's this misunderstanding of calling carbs cakes, donuts, pizza, all the things that have fat actually more than sugar. And just because they taste sweet, they call it carbs, but they're not carbs, they're fats, right?
Yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I get that all the time too, because I eat a lot of fruit just like you do. And I've shown I've had blood tests done. My A1C was 4.9. So, it's the misunderstanding with fruit and just saying that it's sugar, is just because it has so many other things like the antioxidants, the water, the fiber, all those things. So, it's
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and the sugar gets absorbed in a steady point, or how can I say? Uh, yeah, the absorption of sugar is not like a sugar rush that you get with an empty calorie, like a
Yeah,
Coca-Cola or a donut. Has fiber. I mean, if I eat an orange right now, it has a fiber that is gonna release the sugar absorption, very slowly. There's not gonna be peaks, the fiber, the water. So it's not just sugar, it's vitamin C, minerals, nutrients, hydration. Fruit is great.
right.
Yeah.
So what's your opinion on, I mean, first of all, I guess I should ask you, how is your digestion on this diet? Is it pretty good, or do you have issues? What's going on with that?
No issues at all. And when I was growing up, it's sad to remember that I was constipated all my life.
Me too.
As a kid growing up, I mean, it was painful going to the toilet, to the bathroom, to the loo, as they say here in the UK. But now my digestion is flawless. First thing in the morning, go for number 2, and that's why I have a flat stomach, ready to do my workout. And then because I eat a copious amount of food, my first meal, that's another kind of signal for my intestines to evacuate maybe after 2 or 3 hours.
Yeah.
And then after dinner, I also go, so probably I go to the restroom 2 or 3 times, and it's not diarrhea.
Mm-hmm.
It's not diarrhea. It's just the amount of fiber that
Yeah.
we eat. It's just normal. And people are not used to going to the bathroom twice, or every time we eat, we are supposed to go to the bathroom, because it's the peristaltism, the bowel movements that starts in the mouth and spreads that, the wave of movement all the way down. So,
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm so happy
Yeah,
about
I
my
know.
digestion.
I can, oh man, I used to have such uh, issues in the bathroom. So, and now everything for me as well is just perfect. It's like
Yeah.
2 or 3 times a day, and it's just great. So I guess the reason I asked that was because there's been a lot of YouTubers, people online, saying that they've been having digestive issues and other things going on that they are attributing to the vegan diet.
Yeah,
Do you have an opinion on these claims?
I do. These people are Instagram, YouTube celebrities, social media celebrities, and their priorities is not their health. I have actually a video response to one of the most popular ones. So
Okay.
I analyze basically the whole situation. But these ex-raw vegans, I think they got into the lifestyle because they wanted to stay skinny. They wanted to stay slim. And as we mentioned before, you either get into the lifestyle for health reasons, like these doctors that have autoimmune diseases, or for vanity reasons, or for ethical reasons. But for vanity reasons, many people want to have the perfect body, the raw vegan glow, things like that. And I think they base their lives in terms of always looking great on camera, or always being at the top every single day, has to be perfect. And it's not like that. There's so many factors for health. And about their intestinal problems and digestive issues, some of them were drinking alkaline water. And
True.
that basically messes up your digestion. You need acidity in your stomach in order to digest fruit and vegetables. If you drink alkaline water, you're putting your stomach at a higher pH, which is not optimal for digestion. You put your intestinal linings into this artificial pH, which is basically disturbing the balance of your microbiome. So I think that's one reason. Alkaline water is not, it's not in nature. The alkaline water is actually in fruits and vegetables.
Right.
So that's one reason. The other reason is under eating. I mean, the way you eat, I've seen your videos, what I eat in a day.
Yeah.
Me too. The way we eat is abundant. We don't worry about having like a Buddha belly, right,
Right.
after eating, because it's normal. But maybe these people, wanna be with a flat stomach every single time, and it's not the case.
Mhm.
Maybe these people were restricting calories or very low fat diets, and fat is actually optimal. Some people keep the fat very low, less than 5%, and it's not great.
Yeah.
Personally, I work better at 10 to 12 or sometimes 15% of fat. But some people bring the fat so low, and that's detrimental for hormone production, things like that. So I think there are many factors, not only to the raw vegan lifestyle, but it's just they just want to, I don't know, they also have magical thinking, and they also have like this, I would say, egoistical way of thinking, and they try to adapt the lifestyle to their own beliefs,
Yeah.
rather than being aware, okay, I'm doing this wrong, what can I do? So many factors, you know.
Yeah. You know, that's why it's important that we have people like you here to share this information and, you know, give people inspiration and truth. So thank you so much. With that said, what do you think it is about raw food? What is in raw food that makes it so beneficial for us?
I think, you know, the body functions with natural things, and if we put in our body the fuel that is necessary for the body to develop their functions without leaving residues, I think that's the best thing you can do. And raw food, that's what it does. It's just like a car, you know. If you put, I don't know, the cheapest gasoline, yeah, it's gonna give you the fuel to keep the car moving, but it's gonna leave a lot of residue, and you need to check the oil, the brakes, the motor. I don't know about mechanics, but it's just the way I see the body. It's just like a car, a machine. Plus we have the spiritual side and all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
But or the consciousness, if there is no spirit or soul, whatever. But if we put in our bodies the perfect fuel, the fuel that is going to nourish us, the fuel that is going to give us the energy, the calories, without leaving any residue, so the body do not spend extra energy trying to clean up all the buildup. I think that's the beauty of raw veganism, the beauty of fruits and vegetables, because we can get calories out of a bread, right? Has some calories, has some carbs, but all the process involved in the bread production, starting with the refined wheat and the bleaching and the I don't know what else they put. I don't remember. I haven't had bread in a while. The cooking process, you know, it denatures the macromolecules that we need in order to function. It's not the same, you know, like cooking something, because obviously it's going to alter the biochemical structure, and probably is going to elicit an inflammatory response into the body that is not going to recognize. I'm not citing any scientific literature at this moment, and it's, you know, something that I want to bring up, that it's just speculation, but it's also common sense, and it's also scientific inference, because it is what it is, you know. The body responds to external agents with inflammation. Anything that is a stranger to the body, it acts as an antigen. Antigen means something strange, and that elicits an immune response. So there are not many publications about the leukocytosis, you know, elevated white blood cells, or elevated antibodies against these antigens. There's not publications about it. There's a few of them, and many people criticize it, like, oh no, leukocytosis is a myth, you know. But I think there's certain truth in it. Even if it's not leukocytosis, it's something strange. We are altering the molecular structure of the food when we cook it. So I think that's the beauty of raw veganism. You just give your body what it needs, and then your body performs at its best. And it repairs your tissues, and we are what we eat. So I would like to have the skin of a grape rather than the skin of a raisin. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you, I'm going to put up some before and after pictures of you before you were raw and now. And yeah, you look amazing. So
Thank you.
Yeah, it's working really well for you. Do you have any opinion on, do you think people need to be 100% raw, or do you think there's some wiggle room in there?
You know, I think that most raw vegans that are standing until now, like you and me and all other famous raw vegans, is because we were not meant to be vibrant to begin with. It sounds like, oh, what do you mean? Yes, we were defective to begin with, to be honest with you. because so many people have great genes and they eat garbage all the time and they have beautiful skin. They don't age. They have a great physique, things like that, but they're rare.
Yeah.
Those are the exception. They have great genes that probably their liver has a lot of enzymes, anti-poison enzymes that makes them tolerate all this garbage that they eat. Probably they smoke, things like that. So there are rare exceptions, probably Hollywood artists, things like that. But the ones that are like you and me, we're not meant to be vibrant. We're not meant to be like we are now, which, I mean, we're not like Hollywood artists, but we look better, significantly better. We feel better than in the past. So I think if I go back to eat just a little bit of cooked food, my body, because it has some immune memory, is gonna overreact to the things that cause me bad reactions, whether acne, whether weight gain, bad skin, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So people with autoimmune diseases, I think if they go to, I think Tani Ra, I think she says that she has some sort of autoimmune disease.
Yep.
If she goes back to cook food, she's not meant to be thriving because of her genetic or immune memory background. Probably she goes back, she's gonna have a hyper reaction. So some people can tolerate it, depending on their genetic makeup, depending on their immune memory, many other factors. So I would rather, if God forbid, but if I don't have availability of raw foods, I would prefer some steamed vegetables, things like that, but I don't think I need them. There's no need for them.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think I'm mixing up concepts here, but that's basically my answer. I think some people can tolerate it, and there's nothing wrong with that. Their genetic makeup is just strong enough to tolerate it. In my case, it's not that strong.
Okay.
But I guess people that have some tolerance, if they go fully raw, they will do much better. They will be even more beautiful, more healthy, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and you're in London, and so it gets pretty cold there, right? Do you have any issues when it's cold?
Well, I mean, it's not London, it's the southwest of England.
Oh, okay.
But it's definitely cold here. It's not as cold as in Minnesota. It's not as cold as in Massachusetts, where I lived. So no issues. People say that, oh, how can you be raw if you're gonna get cold all the time? No, your body actually gets better. The circulation is better.
Yeah.
So in the beginning, yes, I suffer from cold a lot. But I guess as soon as your circulation and your blood vessels get cleaner and cleaner with this lifestyle, you're not going to suffer from cold. I don't have cold anymore. I mean, I tolerate cold pretty well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. Cool. So if somebody wanted to move towards a raw diet,
Right.
what tips would you give them if they're maybe struggling, or if they just don't know much about it?
Okay. So I would say I would give two type of advice.
Okay.
For the ones that are not vegan, I would recommend not jumping into the raw vegan wagon overnight, because you're not going to make it. I mean, only 0.1% of the people can go cold turkey because they are determined that they have enough willpower. But most of us do not. So for those of for the people that are not even vegan, I would recommend to go easy into plant-based. They should go plant-based first, and then once they have few months into it, start incorporating more raw food, fruits in the morning, salad at night, and cooked vegan dinner uh, at the dinner time, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
And for those who are vegans, I would say, again, baby steps, probably in the morning. The best thing you can do is substitute your oatmeal for fruit. Instead of oatmeal, why don't you do banana oatmeal, right? Like chop very finely the banana, blend some bananas. There you have your oatmeal. Put some blueberries on it. Using also helps, just to get your calories into it. So that would be my recommendation. Baby steps, start in the morning with fruit only. If you can extend that until lunchtime, fruit, salad, perfect. And then for dinner, get stronger. and you're gonna suffer the first few weeks, because the cravings are gonna be there. My recommendation for cravings will be eat enough fruit in the morning and at noontime, and mix in some greens, because sometimes the cravings come from lack of sodium. Throw in some celery in your salads, in your smoothies, in your juices, and eat enough. I think cravings is because we haven't eaten enough. That's my piece of advice.
Awesome. Yeah, really good stuff. All right. So if people want to follow you and your work, where can they find you?
Yeah, I am in most of the social media platforms. I'm more active on Instagram on a daily basis. So RawVeganDoctor, at RawVeganDoctor on Instagram. I have a YouTube channel as well, same name, RawVeganDoctor. Unfortunately, when I register my YouTube account, I register it with a different name. So whenever you see the slash, it's ethereal viral, very, very weird. But if you just put in the browser in YouTube, RawVeganDoctor, a video of me is going to pop up. So that's that. And then in Twitter, I post more pathology, neuropathology, sometimes plant-based related stuff. And it's the same thing, at RawVeganDoctor in Twitter. And on Facebook is Dr. Areli, the RawVeganDoctor on Facebook.
Perfect.
Yes.
Awesome. Wow. Well, thank you so much. This was so informative, and I think people are going to get really inspired by hearing not only this interview, but going over and following you and seeing like all the things you're sharing. It's really great stuff. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Matt. I really appreciate the opportunity to talk to your followers as well.
Yeah, of course. All right, guys. So I'm going to put her links down in the description box below. So go check her out, follow her, give her some support. And if you have any questions, be sure to leave them down in the comments box below. And until next time, guys, always follow your raw intuition.
Detoxify your mind and body. Be the change you want to see. Small steps towards living better. Small steps to where I want to be.